Alright, so the press conference between Jake Paul and Nate Diaz had just been done, and once again, two very different fighters, two very different personalities, and two very different topics that we will be talking about. So, the first thing that I have to say is the fact that, like I said in my last video, Jake Paul is the most egotistical we have seen in the past few fights. He was uttering things even Conor McGregor would probably want to shy away from. It was an absolute high school onslaught of words that just should never have been said. But he did. So, because I mean, it sells the fight. Um, he was very confident in the fact that he was going to win, which just like I said, people should be doing that, especially for press conferences. Because I mean, if not, it wouldn't sell pay-per-views. Um, but he seemed very confident, very confident. And then Nate Diaz was once again, Nate Diaz as always, answering questions whenever he could. Uh, he was training mostly boxing for the camp, and then training with Garcia, having a new nutritionist. Jake Paul has a new nutritionist now, which I just realized. And so, with it being a 10-round fight, cardio could be a bigger factor than what we anticipated beforehand. Um, there was the big robot that came out with Jake Paul, which was a little Easter egg, a little bit of an Easter egg to past fights. But after watching the video back, I had also seen that there was two screens on each of their packs. And I kind of wondered, I was like, what is that? And it turns out that that was the knockout between Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier. I guess it was just filmed on repeat for like the entire time, which had me very confused. But uh, other than that, not much had happened. Nate Diaz did get kind of fired up for a little bit because if people don't know, there's a guy named Derek from Better Media that's been calling out Nate Diaz. He's Derek is basically like 5'10", 5'11", 135 pounds wet. Like I'm pretty sure a Chihuahua could probably beat that ass. But he called him out on a press conference, and ever since then he's just been calling him out. Never fought him. Nate Diaz finally confronted him after Derek antagonized him with his questions. Didn't go up, didn't do anything. But it was definitely a way to get underneath Diaz's skin, you know? Like, as soon as it was over, Jake Paul was just like, oh, we awoke the beast. We awoke the beast. And I'm not gonna lie, you probably did. You probably made him a lot more pissed than you probably should have. But, I don't know, they were also talking about possibly having an MMA match. The fact that Nate Diaz hasn't agreed to it, and I mean, I gotta be honest, I probably wouldn't agree with it either, because if so, it would be in PFL, and in PFL, they don't get paid as much as they would in the UFC. So why would you go and do MMA with Jake Paul for like 500K when you can do like a match in the UFC with like an up and coming welterweight that's like really big? Like I would love to see Nate Diaz versus like Ian Gary, even though obviously it's feeding the lamb to the wolves. I still find as though that would be a good fight, especially on the ground. But just going against Jake Paul, like I would not want to see that at all. I just wouldn't. Other than that, there didn't seem to be too much. Uh, Ariel Helwani was there, which I mean, I don't like. I gotta be honest, I don't like him as a reporter. I just don't. Like, for me, I'm more of like a long centric type of person. I like knowing the fighter, knowing the backstory, getting to know the fighter, not thinking that I already know everything about him. Because whenever he was talking to Nate, he would always just leave these, I wouldn't say open-ended questions, because he did that in the face-to-face, and I didn't quite appreciate it. But in the press conference, it was almost one-sided questions, where he would go to Nate, he would just be like, or I people are thinking that Jake is a good fighter. Do you think Jake is a good fighter? And it's like, how am I supposed to answer that? Like, Ariel's obviously, he's just being Ariel. But when he went over to Jake Paul, he was like, people are saying that you are in the best peak condition you've ever been in. You are the most powerful you've ever been. Do you feel as though that will translate? Like, implying the fact that he already has all. When it could be, he could not. But either way, I mean, it was a good press conference. The co-main event didn't really draw too much. I mean, I gotta be honest. If I had to bet my money, I'd bet my money against Serrano because I saw the face to face afterwards. The like straight dead look in their eyes, and it was very apparent of the height discrepancy between Amanda Serrano and her challenger. I forgot what her name is. It's something Heather or something around those lines. I'm sorry if I botch it, but if I had to bet my money on any fight on this card, I would fight that. I would do that 100%. I probably will. But uh, when you also saw Jake and Nate face off, they are the same height. I did not know that. I did not realize that. They are the same height. Now, they might be two very different frames, but they're the same height. I thought Nate Diaz was like 5'10". I thought Jake was 6 foot. How is there somehow like maybe half an inch of a discrepancy? Maybe because Jake was wearing high tops. Like, it blows my mind the fact that somehow Jake is going to make 180. Because Nate can make 180 on an easy day. He can eat like a Five Guys and then pause. He can eat at Five Guys and still be able to make the weight. But Jake would have to be cutting immense water weight. So, I mean, I don't know. And the fact that Celsius and everything is being branded around this, which Jake Paul is affiliated with, it just kind of has this scent of like, something's awry. Something's going to happen on this card. I don't know what. It's going to be unexpected for all of us, but I feel like something's going to happen. I feel like Nate Diaz is going to have something happen in the back to where the fight needs to be canceled. And I hope to God it doesn't happen, but I have the feeling that just there's going to be some antics. There's going to be. It's literally Nate Diaz and Jake Paul. Jake Paul has been a crypto scammer since the beginning of time, and Nate Diaz, even though he's never backed out of a fight ever, he's not going to take it if, let's say, Jake Paul weighs in at 187 instead of 180. Like, I wouldn't take the fight. I'd be like, no, if we agreed to 180 and you weigh over that at any point, I wouldn't take the fight because we agreed to it. So it's just going to be very interesting because I always think back to that weight and the fact that Nate Diaz would always fight at 170 and 155, and Jake started out 200 and is now coming down to 180. That scares me. Because a person that looks like that face to face with him, with the big arms that he got, like he has, I'd probably say 3 times the size of the bicep and tricep that Nate Diaz has. Like, literally, he just goes like this, and then Nate Diaz is like a wrist. It is crazy. So, I don't know. I would have to say I still have my money personally on Nate, but I could also see how people could have it for Jake. It's one of those kind of toss-up fights. It's a carnival fight. We love seeing them. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting card. If anything does come out, I'll let everybody know. But other than that, catch y'all later. Toodle pip.